Hi, I'm Ben Ferguson, and welcome to your Amac Weekly News. First up, big cities in America are deciding that you can't hang out in their cities unless you get the jab. Where is this happening? I'll tell you in just a moment. Also, the world is on fire right now, and Biden has lost all credibility with foreign leaders. Now some of those foreign leaders are looking to invade other countries. And what's America going to do? We'll explain that for you in just a moment. And finally, Amac National Spokesman Bobby Charles is here to talk about Pearl Harbor and the anniversary that we just had and how important it is to teach our kids about the history that happens in this country. But first, a quick reminder, if you haven't shared this video, we need your help to make sure more people see this. Please hit that share button right now so more people get to see your Amac Weekly News. It starts right now. It is official, and I've been warning you about this for quite some time. These mandates aren't just happening in places like Australia, they're now happening in the United States of America. That's right, more mandates, not just for you to get vaccinated, but also for your children and your grandchildren to now be vaccinated, and it's a mandate. You will have no choice, we're being told now, in the decisions for your children. Where is this happening? Mayor de Blasio just announced that New York City's private sector vaccine mandate will happen for all private sector employers. So, you think you have rights in the private sector? Not anymore, you don't. And New York City Mayor de Blasio has also announced that the Big Apple will propose a new COVID-19 vaccine mandate for not just all private sector employees, but they will also start enforcing it December the 27th. Yeah, just 2 days after Christmas, so you better hurry up and get it done or you won't be working. Merry Christmas, by the way. That's, I guess, the message they're sending to you. Now, all of this is happening as de Blasio is actually heading out the door. That's right. He did not run for re-election. He decided that it was time to, I guess, give the citizens a parting gift, right? His own version of a going-away present. And this is how he said it.
Here in New York City, we were the epicenter of the COVID crisis. We lost so many people in this neighborhood and neighborhoods all over the city. We didn't have PPE, we didn't have ventilators, we were alone. And then we started to fight back, and vaccines came, and we focused on vaccination. It made all the difference. We're now the safest place in this country, but we gotta go even farther. Omicron's here, winter's coming, we gotta go even farther. Today in New York City, we announced a mandate. All private sector employers must have their employees vaccinated by December 27th. This is what's going to keep us safe. This is the kind of thing we need to do now, not just here, but everywhere, so we can leave COVID behind once and for all.
Now, on top of the private sector vaccine mandate for everyone in New York City has also decided that we need new requirements for your children and your grandchildren. You don't have the right to say yes or no as parents apparently any longer in New York City. The mayor is also requiring proof of vaccination for all indoor dining, fitness, and entertainment venues for children ages 5 to 11. So if you want to take your kid anywhere, you will have to get the vaccine. If you want your kid to play sports, you will have to get the vaccine. If you want your kid to be in any extracurricular activities, you will have to give them the vaccine. You want to take them shopping with you? They're going to have to be vaccinated. And you have to have proof of vaccination. And if you don't, you're not welcome. So you have no rights in New York City when it comes to your children, apparently. Why? Because they own your children. And it's not just New York where this is happening. There are new allegations now coming out of Barack Obama Academy, a school not in New York. And parents are furious. Why? Because they're now, becoming whistleblowers, saying their children got vaccines without parental consent. How did they do that? Apparently by bribing the children with pizza and telling them to hide their vaccine cards from their parents and don't tell them about it. Yes, parents are angry, but again, apparently the state gets to decide what your kids do, and the schools get to decide what to do with your kids medically. Now let's get back to de Blasio for a moment and the insanity of all of this, because these rules are not based in science, even though that's what they claim. He is mandating vaccines for children to go to restaurants or go shopping or extracurricular activities, but he's not mandating vaccines to go to school. Well, for making these decisions based on life and death and science and COVID-19, how could you separate the two? Oh, don't worry. He has a reason for that. Take a look.
Look, we all would love it when people go to our restaurants or our movie theaters, but those are obviously for fun, for enjoyment. A school is absolutely basic to a child and their development, their future. I don't want to hold against a child if their parent doesn't take the time to get them vaccinated or for some reason hesitate.
Yes, this is liberal logic of COVID-19, taking away all your rights, even as parents, while claiming it's all based in science. This is exactly like the mask mandates. Apparently, COVID knows when you're in school, so you won't get it there, but then if you're at the grocery store, it will punish you. Look, we are getting control of this virus, so why are they continuing to take away our rights, you may ask? It's all about power and control and making sure that you as parents have no rights in this country. The foreign policy of Joe Biden is a disaster, and now the world is on fire. Biden has lost complete and utter control of America's grip on the world. Our competency around the world is gone, and all of this goes back to a simple problem: the failure of Biden in Afghanistan. When other world leaders in China and Russia saw that we wouldn't even walk 60 feet to save our own Americans in Afghanistan, they knew they had free rein to do whatever they wanted to do around the world. And that's exactly what's happening. Now, a perfect example of what I'm talking about is Vladimir Putin. He's got 170,000 plus troops and artillery that he has moved very close to the border with Ukraine, just in case he decides to actually invade. We don't know if he'll go through with it or not, but there's a very good chance he will, because who's going to stop him? And this is what a Biden administration official had to say regarding Joe Biden's tough conversation with Vladimir Putin on a Zoom call. Take a look.
We still do not believe that President Putin has made a decision. What President Biden did today was lay out very clearly the consequences if he chooses to move. He also laid out an alternative path that is fundamentally in keeping with the basic principles and propositions that have guided America in the Euro-Atlantic area for the past 70 years. And ultimately, we will see in the days ahead through actions, not through words, what course of action Russia chooses to take.
After watching that response from the White House, if you're Vladimir Putin, are you really worried? I'm pretty sure Putin now is saying, yeah, I can do whatever I want to do, and there's no way that Biden's going to stop me. Let's be honest. He wouldn't even save his own American citizens in Afghanistan. Now, Ted Cruz absolutely scorched Biden over his lack of authority in Russia just this past week. Take a look.
This disaster is the direct consequence of political decisions made by Joe Biden. One decision in particular caused this disaster. And it was the decision to throw away our national security victory on Nord Stream 2 and instead to hand Vladimir Putin a multi-billion-dollar generational gift. Sanctions legislation passed in December of 2019. Over 90% of the pipeline was completed. And what happened? Putin stopped building the pipeline the day President Trump signed that bill into law. Not the next day, not the next week, that day. The sanctions worked exactly as designed. And for over a year, nothing happened. The pipeline was a hunk of metal at the bottom of the ocean. So an over 90% complete pipeline is a 0% complete pipeline until you connect it and turn it on. Joe Biden was sworn in as president on January 20th, 2021. 4 days later, January 24th, 2021, is when Putin began building the pipeline again. So we had succeeded with a bipartisan victory stopping this pipeline until Joe Biden and Kamala Harris came into office and gave away our leverage and surrendered.
Now, to be very clear, I never root for the President of the United States of America, no matter who it is, to be a failure when it comes to protecting innocent lives around the world. I want us to have a strong foreign policy, and I want people around the world, the worst people in the world, to be afraid of the United States of America. Unfortunately, Biden and Kamala have rolled over for the rest of the world, and he won't stand up to Russia, Iran, China anymore. Why, you ask? Maybe he's just too tired. The sad part about this is that you have one thing they did this week they actually think was a success when it comes to foreign policy. Yes, we're not going to send diplomats to the Olympics in Beijing as they are basically enslaving people, more than 1 million people in their country. But don't worry, We're still going to send our athletes to go play in the games. Man, that's being really tough. Yeah, that's how weak we are. At the end of the day, we have a problem in this country with a lack of leadership, and it's putting all of our lives at risk, especially with our foreign policy. And as Cruz said, we have leverage around the world until Biden and Harris came into office and surrendered.
Well, because President Biden is obviously wrong. Joe Biden surrendered to Putin, waived the sanctions that had worked, and that is why we're facing the prospect of a Russian invasion on Ukraine. It is because of Biden's weakness. Let me tell you how that phone call should go. Biden should tell Putin the Nord Stream 2 pipeline is dead, that he is going to impose the sanctions that Congress has passed into law.
Unfortunately, we all know he won't do that. We know Biden doesn't have the will or the stomach to tell Putin what to do like President Trump actually did. Yeah, some people didn't like his tweets, but guess what? The rest of the world was listening when he said, "Don't screw with America." And that's exactly what we've lost. We've lost the respect of the world because they know that the man in charge is someone that isn't to be respected. All of us need to be putting real pressure on our elected officials, however, in Washington, regardless of what party they are in, to make sure they're telling the president it's time to stand up and protect our interests around the world. It was a major week this week with two things that were very important to the history of this country. The passing of Bob Dole, a hero, a man that I got to know and have a lot of respect for. And also the anniversary of Pearl Harbor. Joining me now to talk about this, our very own Amac national spokesman and former Assistant Secretary of State under Colin Powell, Bobby Charles. Bobby, I want to start with something that is just glaring, I think, in all of our faces, and that is you have this anniversary of this incredible sacrifice on the anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor and how we responded as a nation. And right now, after that happened, December the 7th, 1941, we are looking at a president that is basically just looking the other way and not challenging anybody in the world, whether it's in Iran with a nuclear deal, whether it's the idea that Taiwan may be invaded, whether it's Ukraine. And it's shocking to see how quickly America has become weak. And we know what happens if we stay weak. We have a history lesson that we just witnessed this past week.
Yeah, you made a very fair assessment there. I mean, one of the things we have to always do, Ben, is look back at history. This is the 80th anniversary of Pearl Harbor. And one of the most remarkable things is that we responded with intensity. The Doolittle Raiders eventually, of course, won the war with enormous sacrifice, lost 500,000 men. But bottom line is Japan was the imperial power of the time, and they struck us by surprise. China seems to be filling in the gap and trying to be the imperial power of our day. And this Biden administration seems a day late and a dollar short on everything. They've just decided last week it's worth warning Taiwan that worth warning China that we defend Taiwan and that they ought to back away. It's a little late on that. They're just warning yesterday that Russia, that now that they've got 175,000 troops on the border with Ukraine, by the way, we're not interested in having you go into Ukraine. They just sent the Secretary of State over to have a word or two about the fact that Latvia, Lithuania, and Poland are all NATO members, and Russia's pushing thousands through Belarus up against those borders, and Poland just slammed down their border. Yeah, it's a little bit late. I mean, frankly, Afghanistan, mismanaging that.
It all goes back to Afghanistan. When they saw that the United States of America and the president was willing to leave Americans 30 feet, 40 feet from our soldiers who were trying to get out of the country, and we would leave them behind on purpose, I think they realized then, wow, we can do whatever we want, because they're not even willing to go 60 feet or 60 yards to get their own people out of Afghanistan. And that's the Taliban that they're dealing with. There's no way they can come up against us in China or us in Iran or us in Russia.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Ben. What's happened is Russia, and in particular China, but I think both of them have taken the view, and Iran and North Korea and a bunch of others, that, hey, this is a pushover administration. And so we're going to challenge you at every...
Get what you want while you can.
Yeah, sadly, the American people are no pushover, and we roar back if you come at us. But the problem is we have an administration that's half asleep and half socialist, and you put those two halves together and you don't get much. And I think the bottom line in Afghanistan, and I'll just add a footnote here, Ben, I'm on the phone daily with people understanding what's really going on in Afghanistan, and the media is not covering the fact that we have more than 100,000 American credentialed individuals in that country who are being hunted down and executed daily. And I think it's a disgrace that the media won't cover it. And I think it's a disgrace that this administration wants you to pivot away. But it all comes back to the same thing: weakness, weakness, weakness. And when, it's like a predator in the jungle. If there's weakness, they're gonna come at you. So that's what we got to be worried about.
No doubt, and it's sad. And I hope that they wake up, as you put it a moment ago at the White House. Lastly, I do want to say the passing of Bob Dole, an incredible man. You wrote a really interesting article. Tell people where they can read it real quick, because it's so important that people go here and read what you wrote about an incredible American patriot.
Yeah, so I want to encourage everyone, of course, to go to amac.us for a number of strategic pieces, but this one is out today on Real Clear Politics, and the point of the piece is that it's fine to celebrate the older man, but go back to the young lieutenant who was paralyzed from the neck down and said, "I will not give up." And he was in the teeth of the Nazi machine in the Apian Mountains, and that's how he got hurt, and was left for dead. But he recovered. Took him 2 years, and he is the living embodiment of the American spirit. It is, don't you dare think for a minute we're not going to get right back up again and do everything in our power. And with the faith of God and the love of neighbors, he was able to do amazing things for America, and he's a great example for all of us.
Incredible man. I had the honor to interview him at the age of 13 when he was a Senate Majority Leader. And many times after that, I got to break bread with him off the record with family and friends in D.C. when he was still in office. An incredible human being. We lost a giant of the Senate this week and a leader in this country. And I hope people go grab that article. As always, Bobby, I appreciate you coming on, and we'll have you back again real soon.
A pleasure. Thank you so much, Ben.
That's it for this edition of your AMAC Weekly News. A very quick reminder, if you haven't joined AMAC or renewed your AMAC membership, make sure you do it right now. We're now more than 2 million strong at AMAC, and we are fighting and winning, especially on the state level. There are a lot of fights right now happening to protect our freedoms and our rights on the state's level. And if you are not a member, you need to join today so that we can continue to fight back against this administration. So renew your membership, tell others about AMAC, and lastly, make sure you share this broadcast if you haven't already. I'm Ben Ferguson, and I'll see you back next week for our next episode.